In the last video, we imported donors into the database, and so I want to review a couple of things before moving on from there. On this page, we have the donor form, and these are all the fields that I had set up for the donor form that we imported into the database. You'll notice that there is no email field, there is no password field, even though on my form or on my CSV file I have an email and password and even a Stripe customer ID field. We don't need to create those on our form because those are automatically included within the Help You Sponsor database. So I just wanted to make that point clear. If I go to my donors, you'll see here are all the donors that we just imported in the last video. You can see they've imported successfully, and if I open one of their profiles, we'll see that we do have a username and email address that was imported, even though we don't have those fields in our form. So I just wanted to make that clarification. Now let's move on. We'll go back to our programs, click import, and this time we are going to import our sponsorship relationship. So we have this sponsored CSV file. We'll open that up. We'll click sponsorship relationship and we'll upload it. Now that it's been uploaded, I want to show you what this CSV file actually looks like. In this CSV file we have an ID field, which is something that won't be imported. We have our sponsorship ID or our sponsor ID, our child ID, this stamped field, and the contribution. So in our particular case, that's what we've named these because of where we're migrating this data from. These fields are what will be matched to what we have in Help You Sponsor. So this can be a little bit confusing, but hopefully it'll make sense as we go through the process. First, we have match recipient fields. So these are the fields that we're going to match to our children in our database. So this is the recipient field to match. This is the name of the field in Help You Sponsor that we want to match to the field in our CSV file. So I need to make one point extremely clear. This field has to be, absolutely has to be, a unique identification. Now, when I click this drop down, you'll see there are all of the fields that we have within Help You Sponsor. But if I choose any of these other fields, they're not unique. Gender, there are many children in our database that share the same gender. There may be children in our database that share the same name. The same with any of these fields. The only one that I know for 100% certain is unique is our ID number. Please do not try and import a relationships field based on a name or any other field. It must be unique. I can't stress that enough because otherwise you will create relationships that are not supposed to be there. So we're choosing our ID number because we know that's unique, and we're choosing the child ID from our CSV. Our CSV represents the relationship. So this sponsor ID is sponsoring this child with this child ID. So that's what we're setting up here. So now this donor, we know that in Help You Sponsor, the only field that we can say with 100% certainty is unique is our donor ID field. We may have donors that share the same first name, that share the same last name. They may even share the same address. So we choose our donor ID field, which is what matches the sponsor ID field in this CSV. Now I know I'm repeating myself, but I want to make this absolutely clear, because this, unlike any of the other imports, this can be destructive to your database. If you do not do this correctly, and it won't be necessarily destructive, but it will be very difficult to fix. And so I want to make sure that when you do this, you do it correctly. And again, if you ever have questions, please email us at support@helpyousponsor.com, or you can send us your files and we'll import them for you for $25 a file. Now, moving on, we have our sponsorship details. So this commitment amount is how much is this sponsor sponsoring this child for on a monthly basis. And I have that under the contribution column in our CSV file. So I will choose that right here. And next is the sponsorship start date. So this date is how Help You Sponsor will calculate when to charge or remind the sponsor of their next payment due. So in this file, I have this stamped, which I know is my start date. Now if you're watching this and you're looking at this stamped column and saying to yourself, those don't look like real dates, you're right. This is Unix time, because this is coming from an older version of Help You Sponsor, and that's how it records dates within the software. So the software will accept a couple of different formats. We recommend that, if you know what Unix time is, it's a great way to do it. This is actually the number of seconds since 1970, if you want to know what Unix time is. So the best is either Unix time or to use a date that is calculated, or that is in the format of the year, the 4-digit year, the 2-digit month, and the 2-digit day, separated by dashes. So we're going to choose that, our stamped, and now we'll click Insert, and just like every other import, our job will be queued. We'll be brought back to this page. We can click to get rid of that box, and you can see again the job has been queued, and we'll receive an email when it's finished.